We all love choices, don't we? Choices gives us a sense of control and make us feel empowered. But remember the time when you were at the supermarket and you didn't know what pasta box to choose because there are so many of them? A few months ago, I wanted to buy a new camera. I know I wanted a mirrorless camera, but there was still like a gazillion choices out there. I read many reviews. The more I read, the more confused I got, the more difficult it is for me to make a decision. And an idea came to me. I could visualize the camera data. I love visualizations. I think it's an interesting way to gain understanding of complex information. So I spent a weekend on a mini project of visualizing the camera data. I'm going to walk you through the process. It involves 3 steps. First, collecting the data. Second, generating the charts. And finally, exploring the data by interacting with the charts. First of all, how and where do I get the data? I wrote a simple web crawler in JavaScript using Axios and Cheerio library. Axios is for creating HTTP requests, and Cheerio is for traversing HTML. Dynamic HTML can be a little tricky to get. I need to make a lot of requests that led to the next problem, that the web server blocked my IP address. So remember next time when you scrape data, turn on your VPN and add a little bit of delays between each request. Next problem, I needed data from not just one website, but 2 websites. So I ended up having 2 crawlers and 2 data sets. I need to join these 2 data sets. But joining them is not straightforward because the websites use slightly different names for the same camera model. And FuzzySet came to my rescue. I used FuzzySet to calculate the cosine similarity score between the names, and then I could combine the data points with the highest similarity score. Moving on to step 2, I started with sketching the visualizations. I think it will be super useful to have the scatter plot for patterns and outliers, and a data table for a quick overview, and column charts with filtering options for comparisons. To generate the charts, I could use either Tableau, a very popular visualization software, or I could write code using D3, a JavaScript library for creating interactive visualizations. And being a developer, I like to learn new libraries. So I use D3 together with React. Why React? Because it gives superior rendering performance. The key here is to use D3 to calculate all the SVG parts and then wrap this D3 code inside a React component. After having the charts, now I can finally play around with it and then find insights in a number of different ways. Here in the scatter plot, for example, I could select different values for the axis. If I select a sensor score for one axis and then the price for the other axis, I could instantly see which camera has good sensor for a reasonable price. I could also group them together in brands. So as you can see here, for the Sony range in one plot. With the data table, I could either see across all their cameras and sort by ratings or scores, or I could just select 2 cameras and comparing them head-to-head. There are 2 main shortcomings with my visualizations. 1, incomplete data for some camera models, and 2, the lack of standard metrics with some functionalities because the different companies have different technologies, so it's really difficult to compare them. But in general, the charts was really useful for me to focus on information that matters to me and to compare and narrow down the choices. And it came down to 3 cameras that I think that fit best to my photography style, and I chose the cheapest one. As you can see here, the other 2 would literally cost me an arm and a leg, and I also need to buy lenses, accessory, tripod, etc. What can be improved? I created the visualizations in a very short time over a weekend. I could really spend more time to add more fancy interaction elements, animations, etc. So in recap, I collected the data with the web crawler, visualized the data using D3, and I play around, explore the data by interacting with the charts. And I made a decision. I was super happy with my camera. The question for you is, how will you use data visualization to help you make decisions? Maybe some of you are hunting apartments and you're copying and pasting data in a spreadsheet, screw the spreadsheet. Visualize it. Thank you.